right here.
We're open. You're right there.
Welcome to the table. I have no idea what this shot looks like. I'm gonna have it right here just in case I can see how goofy I look from the side angle that
You look really good.
Jared has decided to. He's creative. Let's just say that. Let's imagine that you're right here by me, but I'm looking down upon you. We're sitting here together at the table with one another. There it is, right there. I see it now, Jared.
It's good, isn't it?
I feel like I'm way up high looking down on you, but welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let me know when you switch angles so I quit doing this with my head. We're here and we're ready to gather around Song of Songs. Am I right, bro?
Yeah.
Am I right, bro? I mean, come on.
Bro.
It's time for some Song of Solomon today. I'm excited about it. I love getting into the. I can actually see you and you. You look really good, both you guys. Jared's here too. At some point when he switches the camera angle, you will see Jared. I keep waiting for that cue.
I don't want to steal all the thunder over here. People just like the way I look on camera.
Yeah, you got to be on here too, bro. You
Yeah,
don't just get to be behind the scenes.
I
You're a
got
part
the
of this, man.
power.
So, who's jumping on with us? You guys seen anybody yet?
My grandma.
Oh, good. That's what I'm talking about right
Hi,
there.
Grandma.
Come on, Grandma. We've been waiting on you. We're glad you're here.
People always complain that I'm on my computer during the live, so I decided to take myself out.
Take yourself out of it. You guys, the reason, if you don't know that, because somebody did say that one time on one of our lives, why is Jared always on his computer? Well, actually, he's running this whole live thing, so that's why he's on this computer. Just so you know, this thing would not be happening like this with this incredible angle shot that we have right now. I mean, doesn't the song say "calling all angles"? Calling all angles.
Something like that.
Calling the watchman angels on the wall. Something like that. Is that one?
You know, I haven't heard that one.
You haven't heard that one. That's 1 out of 10. That isn't that funny. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that wasn't. That was my one.
Good.
So
Aim at the 9.
well, whether Jared changes the angle or not, we are going to get into Song of Songs right now. It is going to be awesome, and we are in chapter 3. We are in chapter 3.
Boom, chapter
We
3.
missed it last week, but we're picking right up where we left off the week before, which is verses 7 and 8. That's right, verses 7 and 8. We're going to get into it. I'm going to pray. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to gather around your word. When I posted this on my own page, I said, who's ready for heartburn? And I think about those guys on the road to Emmaus when they said, did our hearts not burn within us while he spoke with us on the road? And that's what we want today. We want you to cause our hearts to burn because you're opening up Song of Songs to us. Or maybe you're opening us up through the Song of Songs. Ooh, thank you for that, God. I'm for real, Lord. I'm not just praying empty words. I want us to burn as we get into your word today, God. You can change us in a moment in an encounter with you. Everybody who's with us now or later that will watch this later, Lord, I pray that they would burn with passion for you. Yeah, in Jesus' name. All right, I am going to read from none other than the NASB. I actually had been looking at New King James Version and thought I might just throw TJ off today by picking a different translation.
Ooh.
But I'm going to do NASB. What camera am I looking at now? Still side angle?
It's your beautiful sound.
Okay, here we go. So I'm going to read this right now, the NASB.
It's like sitting with Father Christmas.
Something like that. So here we go. We're going to get into it. Verse 7. Behold, it is the traveling couch of Solomon. Come on, because remember, I got to at least say this. Let's read, just for context. We won't teach on 6, but we'll get context. What is this coming up from the wilderness, like columns of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and frankincense, with all the scented powders of the merchant? Behold, it is the traveling couch of Solomon. 60 mighty men around it, of the mighty men of Israel. All of them are wielders of the sword, expert in war. Each man has his sword at his side, guarding against the terrors of the night. Shh. So good. So today, we actually talked ahead of time. Usually I try to figure out who to ask on the fly. But we did something unprecedented today. And instead of just telling jokes, we actually discussed what we were going to do. And we told jokes too.
Yes, we did.
But first up today is the man whose heart is always burning, Ryan Lumley. Come on, man.
Ooh, come on.
That's what I'm talking about,
Hope I
bro.
live up to that.
Come on, you do, bro.
So, as I was reading this, it's interesting. I was reading in the NIV to begin with, and it says that it talks about Solomon's carriage escorted by 60 warriors. But then when you look in the NASB, and probably others too, it says the traveling couch of Solomon. And so I was looking through my buddy Mike Bickle's notes.
Yes, you always have to consult, right?
Yeah, you got to check it out and
Why not?
see.
Was it the 2007 notes or the 2016?
Oh, they were actually the 2007 notes. Yes, just to
All
clarify.
right.
Oh, I know I'm going to have to change my thoughts. Here
Yeah.
we go.
Yep. There we are.
Great minds.
So, Solomon's couch is the place his bride sat near him in security through the wilderness journey.
Come on.
Which is like, sometimes the Song of Solomon, I'll read it and just be like, what in the world does that mean? I'll just tell you right off, and like, what? Most valiant warriors, okay, good job, they can all wield swords. All right. Okay, and then you just kind of get context by looking at different commentaries and pick it up. So that's how I picked it up. But it's even for today. I mean, today we are in a pandemic, right? We're in this wilderness. We're even sitting here waiting to see who our next president is, because even though we all went and voted, 2 weeks ago, we still don't know. We don't know our guy. So, it's like, here we are kind of in this wilderness. Yeah. And yet we find in the Song of Solomon where we are seated and where God's seated during the wilderness. And it says, in that wilderness, we are seated next to God, next to Jesus, on a couch. Like, here we are in the love seat with the Lord. And so I just find that really cool, that is where he has us. It also, as I was reading through the commentary, it talks about how this speaks of God's protection and his security over us in like military terms. 60 of the most valiant warriors, experts in war, each, what does it say, wielding the sword like with perfection. Like when God talks about us being safe, he's not like, oh, I'll just like cover you in my cloud and everything's gonna be okay. In this context, he's saying, I have 60 of the best warriors taking care of you. It doesn't matter what the wilderness is, it doesn't matter how bad it is, I'm taking care of you.
Yes.
And I just was like, man, God, you're so good.
Yes.
Like even when it seems hard and like, okay, is God really with me in this? To read the word and know that he is giving us his best in terms of security is really good.
Come on, that's awesome.
And so another point is Jesus was raised from the dead and seated at the right hand of God. Right? So Jesus had to come to this desert or this wilderness called the world, and he had to overcome it by laying down his life, and then he rose out of the ashes of this world and is now seated at the right hand of the Father. But the sweet thing is he's not seated alone. We are seated, what was Ephesians say, that we're seated with Christ in heavenly places too.
Yes.
So we don't have to, we have to live in this reality that there's trials. And I think all of us we know there's trials. We know that life gets hard. But this amazing thing is that we are seated with God, with Christ in heavenly places. And it's not just this place of power, but it's this place of intimacy too. He's putting us right next to him. He's whispering in our ears. He's carrying us through. He's showing us his goodness, his smile. When you're in proximity with the Lord, it's like he's gonna show you everything.
Yeah.
And so I love it. It's like even in this horrible time. This is speaking of a hard time. This is speaking of the wilderness. There's nothing. Wilderness is. There's no life. It's hard. But there we are, right next to the Lord, and that's all we need. And so, that's kind of what I was getting out of it.
That's good. I like it. What about you, TJ?
Yeah, I don't know. This one for me was pretty straightforward, I think. There are some things like the one I looked at a bunch of different translations. They talk about couch. They talk about, even in CSB it mentions bed, but you also you have in the ESV it says litter, which is
wow.
it's considered couch as well. That's how it translates.
Interesting.
But
That's a word I'm not familiar with.
I know, right? So
Yeah.
it's just there's a lot of different like translations to that specific word, and but if you look at all of them, they mean something very similar. It's the comfortability, it's the intimacy, it's
Mhm.
the place where like you think about having people over, and there's Andy Stanley does this really well, but he talks about like different levels of your home and how they can come into like the foyer area, they can come into the living room area, they can come into the dining room, and then like the bedroom's obviously the most intimate place, but it's different levels of intimacy, right?
Yeah.
And you have this picture of, and you're thinking of like, I mean, you could mention bed, you could mention couch. These are both very intimate places, really, in the fact of letting people in and breaking bread with you and being able to just spend time with you. I think of like hanging out with my best friend on the couch. You know, like
Yeah.
Right.
not everybody comes in and hangs out on the couch with you, and
Right.
this ability to come in with the King of Kings. Like, I mean, Solomon is the king of the time, you
Yeah.
know, and when we look at it as Jesus, he is the King of Kings.
Yeah.
So
Come on.
we're thinking about sitting on the couch with him,
Mhm.
Yeah.
hanging out with him. And if you want to take it to the marriage type relationship that we've gone, I mean, it is the whole metaphor of this book, then you're taking it to the bed with him, and it's like this very intimate place. But you have to think, like, what I love about this like whole section of verses is the majesty of who you're with, of who she's with.
Mhm.
And I think oftentimes we get stuck on we're only so good. Like, I think about conversations with God in prayer and things like that. Like, we oftentimes go to reverence out of our comfortability because that is we see him as Lord and Lord only, and we're like bowing to him, and we're scared of him, and all of like we're a sinner at the feet of Jesus, right?
Mhm.
Rather than a saint that struggles with sin, and
Uh-huh.
and that definition of identity and who we are and where we are in our relationship with him, and I think in this it just really it shows the juxtaposition of it, to use a big word, but like the difference in what we think and what he thinks and how those work together.
Mhm.
And I think it's just it helps me to understand how comfortable he is with me,
That's good.
and that brings me to a higher comfortability with him.
That's good.
So that's what really stuck out to me,
Man, that's good, TJ. Hanging out with Jesus on the couch.
right? Like, and I think we water that down. Like, hanging out on the couch with Jesus, like that sounds like really almost kind of lame.
Mhm.
But if you really think into it, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It is.
Like, I mean, to
That
put
you-
it into terms of how we could understand it, I mean, the best we could understand it would be like sitting down with the president,
Yeah.
you know, in the Oval Office on the couch.
Yeah, on his
Like,
couch.
Yeah, on his couch, just hanging out, like,
Uh-huh.
or even to take it a step further, going into the White House and sitting on the couch in the bedroom or in the quarters of the president.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, that is a very intimate place,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and he's allowing us in there just to hang out with him,
yeah.
and that's something that's really cool. And I think we don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's awesome,
So-
man. Oh, I want to.
That's really
I
That's
know,
really
right?
good. Yeah, that's really good. What about you, Jared?
Good question. I did have something a little different than you, Ryan. Kind of on the same page.
That's how Holy Spirit works.
I know, right? You know, if I could phrase it in one sentence, I would say the thing that stuck out to me was not allowing foreshadowed circumstances to define your risk. when you look at this and you look at the thing that I caught from it is a lot of people are afraid to risk because they don't know what's already gone before them or what is going before them.
Yeah.
So we see the wilderness that's before her. She's understanding it's coming out there, but we don't understand. We don't look at this revelation that there are 60 soldiers sitting with her on the couch.
Yeah.
You know, so we're always weighing everything, the circumstances. You know, one of the things I love about my wife is she's a risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
But usually risk takers aren't the process people. Process people are the ones that are trying to tell you not to take the risk.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Risk people are always going, shoot, I shouldn't have done that way. Not always, but they are. They're risk takers.
Yep.
You know, so you don't normally see a process person really going for risk.
Mm-hmm.
But in Element, they come together. But when I read this, it's like so many people are afraid of what's going on around them. They don't understand there's 60 soldiers.
Yeah, come on.
And then in the next piece of this, it says there are angelic warriors standing ready with swords to defend the king and his fiancée
Come on.
from every terror of the night. Is what the Passion says.
I was waiting for somebody
Come
to read
on!
the Passion
I mean, it's
Translation.
in chapter 8 or verse 8. It says there are angelic warriors standing ready with swords to defend the king and his fiancée from every terror of the night.
Yes.
Woo!
It's a matter of where we start from, not where we finish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's we're so worried about the circumstances of the world. And again, weighing information is not a wrong thing. I always say stats don't lie,
Mhm.
but stats don't predict your risk.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
a lot of risk takers have looked at the stats and still took risk.
Yep, that's right.
And so, you know, with this with kind of the season of my life, it's like I sit back and look at how the Lord was already defending me before I even knew it.
That's
And
good.
people were saying to me, "Why are you doing this? This makes no sense."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Well, the Lord hasn't told me any differently."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in this season of my life, I felt like the only thing I could say to the outcome of circumstances is that God was fighting for me
Mhm.
Yeah.
and with me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we miss that element because we're always weighing the circumstances.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
getting ready to go in the wilderness, so you know you're going to need your water bottle, your backpack, your kit, all this. Make sure you have a tent that can take care of all the weather that comes before you. And again, none of
Beef
that is
jerky.
wrong.
And you
Got-
could die.
You can die,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Thank
it.
God that in history that Paul did not. You know, when we see Paul and Agabus, it's like Paul knew as Agabus is giving him a false prophecy, which that never happens in Scripture, right? It's a whole difference. We won't get into that right now, but he gives them a prophetic word that Paul's like, no, that's not it, right?
Uh-huh.
And so Paul's like, no, I'm going to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's this fear of you're going to get killed in Jerusalem. Well, then that's what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm
You
going.
know, I'm going because the Lord told me I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
You know, so we're always, and again, it's not, there's nothing lacking in wisdom to look at the circumstances, but the circumstances, the foreshadowed circumstances can't define your risk.
Mm-hmm.
When you know that there are 60 angels
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
who are standing with swords before you.
Yeah.
So as the angels' armies are going before you,
Mm-mm-mm.
and the battle's set before you, you're standing behind, and the field has already been cleared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
You know, so when I read this, I mean, it was like, how many times do we not risk because we're afraid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it even says here, angels, warriors standing ready with swords to defend the king and his fiancée from every terror of the night.
Gosh.
I just love it. It's like,
So good.
if we could understand, if we could, and I know that God can give us a visual picture of the angels that are going before us.
Yeah.
And give us revelation, just like my son, just go.
Yeah.
I have angels that are warring for you.
Yeah.
Just go. Okay. Now that becomes the element of how much can I trust in my risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When the circumstances are defining
Yeah.
my level of trust
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the outcomes, can I risk it? And
Mhm.
can I stay steady in my risk?
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
You know, so
That's really good, man. Good word, Jared.
I love
Come
it.
on. See, there's different people at different places hearing what each of you guys are sharing that are going to relate with it. Some people God's saying, take a risk right now. Some people God's saying, you need to learn to hang out on the couch with me, right?
Yeah. Right.
Some people are hearing what you said, Ryan, that I already forgot.
Yeah. Right.
That's terrible.
Okay.
I was going to actually affirm what you said, and I'm like, what did Ryan say? Isn't that awful?
It's not
I'm human.
because you're thinking
Did you
about
know
what you're
I'm
gonna
human?
say as I'm talking because that's what we're doing.
I shouldn't do that though.
Well, I do it.
No, it's all good. Like each of us has something to say that somebody is going to relate to, and you have things that you're sharing in the channel too, right? That somebody's going to relate to as well. So let's see that. Before I share, I want to hear what is going on in our channel. Can somebody give us a kind of a little synopsis? Who's on with us?
I'm actually not seeing many comments. I'm seeing people. Oh, here we go, Nicole. Let's see. Nicole said, "When I imagine the size of a couch, and then 60 of the strongest warriors surrounding it, I imagine these warriors layered in circles around it. So not only is it active protection, but it would be layer upon layer of armored, weaponed protection on all sides. It's also worth considering that the warriors are highly skilled and trained, so they can sense the danger and know how to best protect." This was interesting because as you brought that up, Jared, and then of course everything that Nicole just said, I remember we were here on election day.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually in this room praying and worshiping that morning.
Oh, yeah.
And I had just finished, this is just a piece of personal story for you guys, but it's good, and it relates. So I had just finished reading this book called The Veil, and it's talking about seeing in the spirit. And the author of The Veil has a gift of seeing in the spirit all the time. So he can see everybody's angels, he can see demons, he can see all of it whenever he kind of checks in. It's read the book; it's a great book. But he encourages Christians to ask the Holy Spirit where to look and ask to see the spirit realm. And as we were praying and worshiping that day, I had just finished the book and was beginning to practice this a little bit. And I'm not saying that I've seen. I don't know that I have. I think there are things, but I had this vision that day of it was like I was looking over the entryway of the church, and I saw armored angels similar to this, armored angels all the way around it.
Come on.
Wow, come on.
And just like in like battle formation, they're just like standing there in like just perfect sequence and all of this. And there were layers. There were one or two like full layers all the way around, like forming a wall. And the voters were coming in, and they were like the warriors or angels. They were like the doors, the gates. So they would like part for the voters to come through.
Wow.
And all like I even had like pictures of like demons and such, which I don't even know what to make of it, but they were out, like, you know, the trees that are out along the road, they were out in the trees. They couldn't come past that.
Wow.
So there was this like hedge of protection that wouldn't allow. It was just so cool, but that's
awesome, bro.
That's my experience with this, and that's what I really picture when you picture these armored angels or armored warriors around the couch of the. So anyway,
yeah, it's good.
it was really cool.
I think there are more comments on mine. If you can read them, I can't read them. But if you start scanning mine, there's like.
Well, there was a few about the
Yeah,
sound
Julian.
for a little bit, and then everybody could hear better.
Jolyn just commented, "That's what I want, and I will have it!"
Yeah.
Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation.
Yes,
She read the
you
veil
will.
too.
Been asking, let's go.
That was one in our church at Destiny. Several of us read a bunch of years ago. It's a good one.
It is.
It
really
causes
stretches
you to hunger.
It's really
Right.
interesting because
Yeah.
I had never read anything like it, and
Mm-hmm.
it really kind of.
Who recommended it, Jolyn?
No, I recommended Jolyn, and she just read it. But
That's awesome,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, that's not one you always just stumble across, actually.
Yeah.
So
Carissa actually had it in our Audible account, so she had read it back in the past.
Nice.
I listened to it during a paint job here a while back.
That is awesome. It's what I'm talking about.
Nicole said it's also worth considering that the warriors are highly skilled and trained so they can sense the danger and how to best protect.
Come on.
Did you read that one? Hey, it was so good we read it twice.
Hey, we
It was
got it
worth
twice.
right? It was
Nicole's
worth
awesome.
it was worth 2 times through.
Well, I was gonna read it a third time.
Yeah. We're if you're charismatic, you have to, right? 3
Oh my
times.
gosh.
So I'll just kind of give you my. There's not. You guys covered it so well. You always do. Which, by the way, I remember you talking about the wilderness.
The wilderness.
You were talking about the wilderness. I'm like, Lord, I'm not okay with not remembering what my man shared. It's bugging me. It's the wilderness, and you're in the wilderness on the couch,
On the couch.
seated with Him. Come on. All right, so let's go back again. I like that the NASB calls it the traveling couch. That really stands out to me. It's like I'm not just going to the stationary couch of God that, you know, I got to every day go into my time of worship and I'll go to your couch, Lord, and then I'll leave that place and kind of try to make it through my day until I can get back to the couch with you tomorrow to get refueled so I can go back out in the world again.
Jeez.
No, it's a traveling
That's
couch.
good.
It's like I get to ride. Life is a highway.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna ride it all night long. Like this is like I get to be in the trap. This is a mobile kingdom, right?
Come on.
In fact, you could go so far as to say the couch is in me and I'm on the couch.
That's right.
Like heaven is in me, right? I pack the kingdom and yet I also am seated with Him in heavenly places. I'm in Christ, Christ is in me. And just that whole picture, and also that our warfare, our spiritual warfare, my friend Quincy Goodstar has this message about spiritual warfare being the best spiritual warfare is rest. That when we are at rest and when our faith and our trust is in God, like rest is warfare. Like our whole faith is not in how well we wield the sword. Although there are times, you know, we take up the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, that when we're directed to do so. But this picture is we're on the couch with Him. It's the 60 warriors that are doing the thing, man.
Right.
Like surrounded. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you.
There it
is.
Right? That was what I was thinking about too when we were talking about that. The whole 60, and again, I think you brought this up. It's not just that they were mighty ones, right? Mighty warriors, valiant warriors. All of them wielders of the sword. And there's 60 of them. Well, I was reading today, it was something like a president usually has 20 to 30.
Interesting.
60, it's like extravagant protection. Because these guys would get, what he's doing in the context of the verse, Solomon's going to pick her up for the wedding. Like he's coming in his chariot and surrounded by 60 warriors. Because these guys are traveling with gold and gifts for the bride. They're like, man, they're getting, and so people are going to want to rob and steal from.
Sure.
He's like, no, welcome to my couch with all of our extravagance, my extravagant blessings that I want to give you. And guess what? I'm going to keep you safe so the enemy can't steal what I want to give you and what I want to bless you with. So that spoke to me.
Wow.
And then that whole thing, just guarding against the terrors of the night. And you kind of hit on it, being in a wilderness, and then also this imagery of it being night, dark. Like, they're here because it's, first of all, we need to get real. There are terrors in the night.
Yeah.
There's negative, demonic things and strategies the enemy has. But guess what? We're on the couch.
That's right.
60 warriors around us, sitting with Jesus, traveling on this palanquin. There's a good word for you we didn't use yet. That's the King James, if I'm right. You can check me on it. But the word is palanquin. The first thing that popped in my head when I read this passage was that word. And the reason is because I was at IHOP several years ago. And had not the pancake place, in case you're with us and you don't know, the House of Prayer, in Kansas City. And I was hanging out with a guy and his wife, Josh and Mandy Rushing. I don't know if you guys know Josh and Mandy, but Josh and Mandy used to lead the noon set every weekday at IHOP. So the reason I was hanging out with him is because his sister married my brother. So he's like my brother's brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're hanging out over at their house eating, and Kevin Prosh, Jared's gonna know who Kevin Prosh is, right?
Kevin Prosh is crazily interesting, phenomenally good.
Yes, exactly. I was talking to Ryan about.
Describe it.
I was talking to Ryan. If you have not listened to the album Palanquin, you gotta do it. It is so stinking good, and it is built off of this one word. Like the name of, because when I didn't know that word. Like when I'm like, why in the world did he name this Palanquin? And so I'm with Josh and Mandy, and I'm like, what in the world is that name? And of course, Josh, steeped in the IHOP culture of Song of Songs, and I was not at that time. I was barely scraping the surface of it. And he's like, that's the couch, the king's couch from Song of Solomon. Oh yes, of course. Like I had no clue. I didn't know what I was talking about. But I thought of that because it just, that whole picture of the couch was foreign to me then. I didn't know what he was talking about. That palanquin, that traveling couch, and we're on it. So basically I'm encouraging you to look up Palanquin by Kevin Prosh. He is like the grandfather of prophetic worship, one of them. Him, Don Potter, right? There's some of these other guys. But man, guys, what a powerful revelation of what we have in Christ. This is so good.
Yeah.
So I love what you guys are sharing. It's awesome. We love being in the Word together. Is there any other things that popped on? Anybody else have some other comments they made?
Jolene likes my side view.
That's good, Jolene. I'm glad you do. There it is, the side view. I'm looking at it right now. This is me looking at the side view, looking at you looking at the side view right now.
Oh my gosh.
So,
You lost me.
Nicole also said, so glad there's a comfy couch in the wilderness because sometimes it gets exhausting to try and relax on the rocky, stick-covered, weed and plant-filled ground.
come on.
And
See,
then
you're so good with words, Nicole.
She is.
You got a gift.
And then Joanne says, the couch goes with you. He, quote unquote, causes us to lay down in the midst of any season.
That's
That's
good.
right.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Psalm
He
23.
makes me lie
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On green sofas.
on green sofas in green pastures.
With green pastors.
Pastors.
Jared has a green shirt on. He's a green pastor today.
Historic.
Okay, before I take us down that road, which is the road of crashing the plane, real quick, we want to make sure that we touch on something with you guys, and there'll be a communication going out about this as well. I know that there will be questions about, okay, the city council voted last night, and there's a mask mandate in place. What are we doing? And so we spent this morning, I pulled together a crack team of the pastoral staff. It is a crack team of the pastoral staff who lead with me every day faithfully. You guys, this team is awesome. I trust these guys and gal. Tracy's not in here. She's on our pastoral staff team. I trust them with my life. I value their counsel. I value their input. So I pulled together these guys along with Chris Maloney, our lead trustee, and Heath and Jen Renke, our lead elders. I'm like, here's what I'm feeling, but I want to hear you guys on it. And where we landed as a church, because this is a mandate, but it's a mandate that allows the business to make their own choice without any enforcement on the mandate. It's really a strong recommendation. And there's nothing wrong with it. I think our city leaders, I just want to first honor Mayor Tenhaken and the city council members. I cannot imagine being in their position right now. I can't imagine having to try to make the calls that they're having to make in the midst of a pandemic. And I value their leadership and I honor their leadership. Mm-hmm. So I want to say that right off the bat. So as we talked through it, we felt like we are going to maintain our position of believing that you can make the choice that's best for you. All right, thank you. I will call you back so soon. We want you to make the choice that's best for you in this circumstance, just like we have been. I want to go back to saying that you're wearing a mask will signify to us that this is something you're doing because you want to have social distancing, and we will value that. The mandate says you should wear masks anywhere that you cannot practice 6 feet of social distancing. Well, you can do that here. You can come to services and you can practice that. Or you can wear your mask if you would like to and let us know, okay, I for sure am wearing a mask because some of you need to do it for your job. Your job requires you to do it. We respect that. And we do not mask shame around here. Either way, there are strong feelings on both sides of this. And so we're not mask shaming anybody. We want you to do what you know that you're being led of God to do and what you feel is the right thing to do. So, but we're not going to enforce the mask mandate. Those who want to wear it, please do. Those who feel that this isn't safe for you, oh, how we honor that. You got to be wise. You got to do what's best for you, and navigate this whole pandemic the way God's leading you to, without shame and with peace. That's why we're online. You can still be a part of the house, right?
Yeah.
You are just as much. You are just as much a part of this congregation, this family, this house. We have people who are on with us every week online that don't come here because they are making wise choices.
Yeah.
They are in a position in their life where they're at high risk. We don't want you to be in a position where you're at high risk. So we honor that. We want you to know that. At the same time, we also want you to know we will continue to do what we have been in changing out tablecloths between services, sanitizing surfaces. Not only do we do that on Sundays, but during the week, making sure that areas are clean. When it comes to serving coffee, it will continue to be served to you. We will not just have a coffee pump on Sundays that everyone's serving. It will be served to you. In fact, one of the changes that we made, actually started this yesterday before the vote happened, because again, we're concerned about your safety and doing the best things, making the best choices we can, while also leaving freedom for people to make a decision that's best for them. So one of the things that we're doing is, instead of having us as a congregation bring side dishes, we made the decision for the church to purchase side dishes. Now, if you were going to bring a side dish, and the email went out about what that was supposed to be last week. If you were going to do that, you're more than welcome to make a donation. There'll be a donation box out to help cover the cost of that. But we're going to, for your protection, for our protection, instead of having 60 people touch all the food that's going to be prepared, we'll have however many people are making chili. What is it, 10, 12, something like that?
A little bit more.
That are making the chili, and they will be the ones. And then our team from Women at the Gate will be serving, and they will be gloved as they serve. We will not be serving our own chili ourselves, first of all, because I'd probably give myself too much and eat it all. But more importantly, to keep you guys safe. So they will be serving you the chili. And we went even further with it. We said, well, let's don't just have tables in the gym. Let's have tables in the foyer. Let's keep the tables in the sanctuary. People can social distance. They've got more room to pick a place to sit, that they can be further apart from each other. So we're making all these decisions to do the best job we can of keeping it as safe as we can, while at the same time leaving the liberty for you to make the decision if wearing the mask is the right thing for you to do. So our staff at this point will not be masked. We will continue to do just what we've been doing, and respecting our city council for doing the best job that they can and trying to navigate this as well. And so that's where we are. And does that make sense? Of course, you guys are in here. We already talked about it. I know it
The
makes
one
sense
thing
to
that
you
I
guys.
would add to that is you were talking about the chili cook-off this Sunday.
Yes.
I don't know that everybody knows we are having we're planning a chili cook-off. So
Yes.
that's what's happening. That's what he was addressing for Sunday. So
Very good. Thank you,
Yeah.
DJ. Good point. So you can come and enjoy some chili with us. We have one service this Sunday, 9:30 a.m. And we will be doing testimonies and worship. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be really good. And the next Sunday after that, it's only one service. We also do Wednesday night meals as well still, and they are served to you. So that will remain the same, right, Ryan? What you said?
speaking of which,
Yes.
lasagna.
Lasagna, baby. That's right. This'll
I
be-
love that Hy-Vee lasagna.
The last night of 2020 that we'll be serving food at the church.
There you go.
So we're probably we're talking about picking it back up in January, but we haven't made that total
Yeah.
decision yet. So
Stay tuned.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned to your favorite local Church at the Gate network. CATGN. Church at the Gate. There we go.
Here we are. Crash
Oh.
the plane.
Crash the plane. Crash the
It's
plane.
prophetic, man. We're gonna have our own network.
Our network. Welcome to our network.
Yeah.
So yeah, Friday night, I will mention this, no FaceTime Friday because we're going to go join the citywide worship at Trey Ministries. So you can sure join us there. I think the youth are going.
Yeah, we are.
What time are you guys meeting here?
We're meeting here at 5:45, and we'll kind of organize rides from there, and it'll be a good time.
Phenomenal. It's been so awesome. So we're excited about it. And then we'll be back, like we said, on Sunday. And we just pray you guys have an amazing week. Stay on the palanquin.
Stay on the palanquin.
Stay on the couch.
The dad
This is
corner.
your permission to stay on the couch all week with Jesus, right? So God bless you guys. Anything else, guys? All right. Have a great week. We love you guys.